Greetings. Welcome to the ASTROLABE, brought to you by King Pilled. Now, I'm going to really hope that you guys are getting audio from me right now. And let's see. It still says, it says I'm registering audio now, so we're giving it a shot in Vivaldi again. I can't describe to you how nice it is to be able to have just one window, have all my tabs categorized out into subjects. It's just, makes me feel good. Audio is good. Excellent. Yes. So no reason at all for it to not work yesterday. No idea what was going on. Thank you, Beefaroni. Thank you for saving me the blood pressure points. For not trolling. I have no idea what it was yesterday. Literally no clue whatsoever. I haven't even restarted Vivaldi. I opened it back up after the stream and went and tested the audio again, and it was just fine. So I haven't even closed it. Haven't even restarted it. No clue whatsoever what made it not work yesterday. I think it was just the Jews or the Illuminati. Maybe it was tomato. I don't know. Whoever they is, they were out to get me. That's why it didn't work. And but you guys, through sheer will and loyalty and super chatting, you guys managed to overwhelm them, beat them back into submission. And so I'm back here again with you today for another episode of the ASTROLABE. Now, I got to try to keep this one under 2 hours because after this episode, I'm going to be going and casting a vote for Donald J. Trump for president. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to be going and casting a vote, and then I got to be back here in time because I need to like get absolute confirmation on this because I haven't heard from him yet today. Since he's, 12 hours in the future or something like that. But there's supposed to be a friend or fed this evening. Maybe it's getting pushed. I'm not sure. But I'll just double check the time. Scrolling back up through this. So this is friend or fed, Trump Vance edition. And I know for sure we've at least got Charles Haywood confirmed. So it'll at least be Jason, Charles Haywood, and I. And yes, 5 p.m. my time, 6 p.m. Eastern tonight for Trump Vance friend or fed. So we'll see if Jason winds up in the chat here at some point, Mr. Miranchuk himself, to confirm for us that that's what's going to happen. But that's the last information that I got. So it's a busy day today. Got to get this stream out to you guys. Got a bunch of good stuff for that. I got some stuff on Trump, some stuff on the garbage scandal, some clips of JD Vance being awesome. If I don't know, is it even worth trying not to tip my hand on the friend or fed? Maybe I'll come up with something clever. I'll come up with a clever way for them to be a fed. Maybe that's how I'll do it. Got to file that one away. Yeah, friend and fed. See, that's kind of where I was going, Junk Sock. That's sort of, I was thinking, let's see, maybe actually our feds are friends. Friends were the feds we made along the way. Anyways, I've got some good clips of JD Vance talking to Tim Dillon. And then there's also a back and forth that he had with Mr. Fake Tapper. And that's going to segue us into a piece by Molly Hemingway talking about how Jake Tapper was not just complicit in the dissemination of the Russiagate narrative, but was actually complicit in the conception of it. So we're going to read that. Then I've got some stuff on various different voter fraud things that are underway, including the Supreme Court BTFOing the Dems in Virginia. And then some goofy stuff happening on Twitter related to the Kamala campaign. We sicked our autists on it in the King Pilled server. They've been hard at work. You get a little bit, if you don't know what I'm talking about, you'll find out here in a little bit. I've got a clip from Howard Lutnick. I mentioned Howard Lutnick to you guys yesterday, talked about him for a little bit, and I finally went and listened to that whole conversation of him with him and Anthony Pompliano. And I'm really hoping that one of my like clip guys on Twitter puts together one of these like clip threads from that conversation so that I can share it with you guys. I'd love to just sit down and just play the whole thing, but it's on YouTube. And if I just sit down and play the whole thing, then the stream's going to get immediately taken down. So I could do it on X. That's one possibility, I suppose. I could just do an episode dedicated to that, but it's like a 2-hour interview. So it'd be nice if someone could go and do their little clip thing with that. I don't have nearly the patience or the time to sit down and wade my way through that. Now, part of the problem is I don't know if someone like that, like part of the fact that this clip thread hasn't been created yet means this conversation isn't really on the radar of the Clippers. I'm speaking of like the vigilant foxes and the George Bahaisi tweets, whatever his name is, Autism Capital. All of these guys, they've created this little cottage industry of following all these people around and reporting on what they're talking about. And I think it started out as just, I don't know, engagement bait, essentially. But it's actually turned into now like they've got like a really strong personal incentive, regardless of what their individual political instincts might be. They've got a really strong personal incentive to keep this this feedback loop up. They amplify and advocate for Trump and Elon and Vance and all their different surrogates and associates and Tucker, and they keep the gravy train flowing. Suddenly, there are positive, cynical incentives for the slop chasers to promote our guys. I think this is awesome. But I do recognize that means that they may not necessarily be in touch with all the trends that we are. And I think if you've been listening to the Stormy Waters conversations with Jason and Pete Quinones, then this Howard Lutnick conversation should stand out to you extra bigly. It's a very strong, perhaps the clearest, strongest indicator that Stormy knows what he's talking about. So I'll say just go listen to it. Howard Lutnick with Anthony Pompliano. Go listen to it. You'll probably get it very quickly, at least the first half of it. The second half of it is more going into his background, which is itself confirmation of some of the stuff that Stormy has talked about. But talking about the way his parents died and then the way he built the company and how he went about growing his wealth, taking advantage of the situation. It was very, very interesting. He's the guy who Cantor Fitzgerald had something like 700 people killed in 9/11 because they were there at the office. And it happened to be a day that he was late getting to the office because he was taking his kid to kindergarten. And so his entire office was just nuked. A lot of his closest friends and everything. So he got a little emotional at a few different times talking about it. But it is a massive, massive white pill. And the significance of Howard Lutnick, if you don't know, is he's not just a billionaire chairman and CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald. He's also the head of Trump's transition team and the head of the Doge with Elon. And you could tell that he cannot say enough good things about Elon. He is absolutely in love with Elon. And he also mentions, I'm giving it all away now. He also mentions how he describes his relationship to Bernie Cantor as he was coming up, as basically kind of forced his way into having Bernie take him on to be his mentor. And he compared his relationship to Bernie, which is, my job is to make you money. My job is to make you look good. And I'll take whatever I can get from you as confirmation that I'm doing the right thing. He says that's his relationship to Trump as well. And he's like describing a patronage relationship. He's describing the relationship of a lesser noble to a greater noble, of a lord to a king. He's like describing it exactly. This is how he sees himself and his responsibility. Oh, man. Josh Ham says, listening to him, I would totally be willing to work for him. I would work miracles for a leader like that. Yes. We are so extremely blessed to have guys like this on our side. And you know what? He's a Jew. Can you believe it? He's a Jew. Is he going to do Jewy things? I'd imagine at some point he's probably going to do Jewy things. But if you're ability to evaluate the political landscape is so low resolution that you can't differentiate between a pro-America Jew and a pro-America for Israel Jew, then I don't know what to do with you. He's very clearly allied to, loyal to America because he knows where his bread is buttered. He is the chairman and CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald. He has an incredibly powerful incentive to want to see massive economic prosperity in America because that will make him rich. Unfathomably rich. He's already rich. It'll make him even richer. He has every financial incentive to want to see the type of economic prosperity that is going to be facilitated under a Trump administration. That, like, I don't care who his parents were. Anyways, I always do this. I always wind up getting onto some sort of little rant here at the beginning, instead of just getting into the show. Hopefully the rants are good. Go watch that conversation. Howard Lutnick with Anthony Pompliano. They talk a lot about Bitcoin as well. So he's a massive Bitcoin guy, and he gets it. He understands it. So first, wholesome little video here at the beginning. Listen to this Japanese man. We love our Japs, don't we? We love our old Jap grandpas, don't we, folks? He explains how the word kiseki applies to President Trump after the failed attempts on his life. The Japanese say that kiseki only happens to special people.
Trump would be dead in that day, but he didn't die. Trump would be dead in that day, but he didn't die. In Japan, we call kiseki. Kiseki is a normal case. Someone usually die, but something happened and that person didn't die. That is kiseki. Or kiseki could be something never gonna happen that way, but happen. That is kiseki. Kiseki we don't see all the time. Kiseki is happen to someone special person. This time that person is Trump. Something protecting Trump. We don't know what it is, but and that's why it's happened. That's how Japanese think. Kiseki is only happen to special people.
The Japanese, like one big thing that separates a lot of the Eastern world from the Western world is this sort of spiritual intuition. That there's certain things that you just kind of accept because you just recognize that they're real. When you see something like what's happened with Trump, like it's Ryan says luck. So it's like it's luck, but it's much more than luck. It's like being divinely touched, sort of having the fingerprints of the gods. And there's some men that it becomes very clear for whatever reasons, you can't necessarily explain or justify it, but for whatever reasons, it's become very clear that that this sort of man is just ordained by God. I mean, I think you could have the question of like which God. That I think that's a very worthy question to answer, and I think you could say it's both God. Both possibilities exist. They have yet to be borne out. It's yet to be proven which God has placed him under his divine protection. Wibbly wobbly, timey wimey stuff. But yeah,
Trump
miracle, miraculous is a similar thing. There's also kind of it has echoes of kismet, it's kind of interesting. You have kiseki and kismet. There's a little bit of that. Kismet is a little more baggage in a different direction, but I'm always fascinated by these kinds of words, like the words that other languages have that capture meaning that we don't really have a word for. Because in an event like that, when there's something like this, we don't have an exact word for this, which is part of why we don't think about it. When you apply a word, when you apply a term to a concept, suddenly it makes that concept a lot easier to see and to evaluate and to analyze. One person who's really good at this is, no, I'm never going to go down an anime trail. I could guarantee you that. Sometimes I like some of the memes, but that's as far as it's ever going to go. They're like, that's how it starts. What was I going to say? What was I saying? Oh, mouth sounds and mind pictures. So one person who's really good at doing this, like taking a mind picture and applying a really compelling, sticky mouth sound to it that we then associate, which allows us to talk about it, is Eric Weinstein. For all of his other foibles, and he had just an absolute stepping on his dick moment, yet another one in public. I didn't put it into the show today. Maybe it'll make it in tomorrow or in the future. But the one thing he's very good at, one thing I very much appreciate is his ability to coin a phrase to refer to a concept that then allows you to think about it better. The most prominent example for me would be his egos, which is really ironic. EGO stands for Embedded Growth Obligation. And it's these sorts of institutions that are formed with an embedded growth obligation. They have to always grow, and if they're not always growing, then they'll fall apart and they'll fall, begin to collapse under their own weight. And so, an example of this would be like the current university system, law, like the lawyer profession. They, with all of these, it's like you have to go up, you have to advance, but you can only advance so far. Like making partner is really difficult, but then there's nowhere to go beyond that. But there's lots of people who are gunning for partner. So then you get a new law firm, but then you can only get so many law firms. And eventually you hit a saturation point and you don't have any need for more of this thing, which means that thing is going to get worse and worse and worse. And you're going to get a distorted labor market as people, the new generations start backing up and they can't follow down that same path. So this is a concept that I wouldn't necessarily have intuitively thought about until he said egos, embedded growth obligations, and he explained it. And it's been just stuck right in there. It'll be there for the rest of my life. It's really cool, this mouth sound mind picture thing. Real old school King Pilled listeners will remember the conversations we had about that. We had a lot in the King Pilled Discord and the voice chat. But we have so much of human communication is just people using the same mouth sound to refer to different mind pictures. I have one mind picture, and I'm trying to use these mouth sounds to put that mind picture in your head, but it's not successful. You have a different picture in your head. And so we're shouting at each other, and we think we're shouting about the same thing, but actually we're shouting about different things because we don't even have the same picture in mind of what we're thinking of. And sometimes with people, you can tell. I don't know if this is an IQ thing or a spiritual intuition thing. I don't know exactly what it is. But sometimes you can tell when you have when your mind picture is not connecting to someone else, but they can't tell back. So you realize it's like, and you're like, all right, I'm gonna pull out of this conversation because I can recognize we're not talking about the same thing, and there's no way we're going to talk about the same thing. We're just at an impasse here. But the other person thinks, like they're implicitly assuming we both have the same mind picture and they're advancing on that front. They're like, aha, I've got him. And it's like, no, like you're too dumb to realize that we're not even having the same conversation. You're literally not capable of having a conversation with me on this subject. So what do I do? Mouth sounds and mind pictures. That's one that a lot of people have repeated back to me after I started using it. And I was kind of trying to get like really overly, like instead of words and ideas, like I'm trying to make it, I guess in a way, I'm kind of trying to do the same thing. It's kind of meta. But a lot of people since then have referred to it. I've heard people talk about the mouth sound and mind picture thing. So I'm like, all right, well, if it seems to be useful to people, I'll keep using it. Let's keep her going. This video is just total slop, but I think there's a little bit of signal in here. Hawk 2 is a perfect mouth sound mind picture. Well played, sir. Okay, so this is one of those where they're just going around and they're asking people Trump or Kamala, Trump or Kamala, Trump or Kamala, Trump or Kamala. And this, I got tired of this sort of political content like the first time I saw it. But in this particular case, in the current climate, I think that there's some kind of meta noise here, or some meta signal here that you can get, that look at the way that people, despite what answers they give, look at how they give them, and maybe what's not happening.
Trump or Kamala? Trump or Kamala?
Trump. Trump, of course.
Trump or Kamala?
I don't know.
Trump or Kamala?
Mr. Donald.
Trump.
No opinion.
Donnie, every day.
Trump or Kamala?
I am not doing this at an ASU
doing it?
football game.
Trump or Kamala?
Trump for sure.
Trump!
Trump or Kamala?
Trump. Neither.
Trump or Kamala?
Kamala.
Trump.
That one was interesting.
Trump or Kamala?
Trump for sure.
Trump!
Trump or Kamala?
Trump. Neither.
Trump or Kamala?
Neither. So there's lots of people who are just like, nope, don't want to even get into that. Nope. No interest whatsoever. Which can be plausibly read, like, from the uber shitlib perspective, this is like betrayal. Like, how could you even possibly consider these to be the same thing? These people are just like, no. Don't want anything to do with that. That's problems for someone else to solve. This is a white pill. It's very good to have the newer generation coming in like this with respect to politics. And then there's lots who are just like, Trump, yeah, hell yeah. And this isn't in Arizona. This is in a like the definition of a purple state.
Kamala.
Kamala.
Trump.
Trump.
Trump or Kamala?
Trump.
Trump or Kamala?
No comment. Trump.
Trump or Kamala?
I don't vote.
Trump or Kamala?
No.
Trump or Kamala?
Kamala.
I'm gonna have to go with Donald J. Trump. Mr. Trump all day.
Trump or Kamala?
Kamala. I'll just go with her vote.
Trump or Kamala?
Kamala. Kamala.
Big
Trump
surprise.
or Kamala?
Trump.
Kamala.
Probably Trump.
That one there. She says Kamala, he says Trump. So he's like, I don't care about saying that you don't see people just falling into line with each other. And then she doesn't freak out at him. She's not like, what? She says Kamala, he says Trump. She's like, all right, whatever.
Probably Trump.
Trump or Kamala?
I don't.
I'm Italian, guys. I'm sorry.
Trump or Kamala?
I'm Italian, guys. I'm sorry. That'd make a really good little reaction clip. I'm thinking of the pizza memes.
I don't know.
Oh, definitely Trump.
Trump?
Trump.
Trump or Kamala?
Kamala.
Kamala?
You did not just say that. Trump.
Awesome.
There's another one. The other guy said Kamala. He kind of screwed around and he's like, Trump. I'll just say it. Trump. This is a big change. There is signal to be had in these slop videos, because the younger generations are much closer to simple ambivalence about federal level politics than they are to like really endorsing either side. But there's also an overwhelming number of people who are, I mean, this small sample, it was probably 80%, 85% Trump among a bunch of different demographics, men, women, women of color, black guys. The kids are going to be all right. And all the fears about how, oh man, imagine once the younger generations come around, they're going to be just like 500 million different genders, and it's like, no, they're not. The whole thing has become so cringe that nobody wants to be associated with it in general. And if they do want to be associated with it, the more cool option is Trump. And they don't really care about the like, whatever. You like Trump? All right, cool. You know. So all the propaganda is falling on deaf ears. Okay, we're going to give this a shot. I didn't stop screen sharing and then screen share again. I just went straight over to the next tab. We're going to see if the audio works here. Don't ever use self-deprecating humor in front of Trump, especially not this expression. You might be surprised if you haven't seen this clip. You might be surprised at the expression that gets Trump's ire up.
But no, we were 4 hours into the first date and we hadn't had a theme yet. I was getting frustrated. I'm like, let's throw stuff out. And I'm like, how about go-karts just off the top of my head? And then later on, Christine
things
said...
shouldn't be just said off the top of your head.
No, and later on,
thinking.
Christine said that doesn't convey luxury. And I said to Jen, I said, yeah, that probably does not convey luxury. I would like to do it, but I'm not the Lexus customer. I'm white trash. I only eat at restaurants with deep-fried appetizers. So I know I'm not the Lexus...
What do you mean you're white trash?
Well, I'm just joking about that.
But what does that mean? You don't joke about that. What does that mean you're white trash?
I grew up in a small town and
does that make you white trash? Do you feel you're white trash?
Sometimes
that's
I do.
a pretty stinking statement.
I was a little.
No, but don't you think that's a pretty bad statement about yourself?
No, not necessarily. I don't think people take that seriously.
It doesn't sound flattering.
Do you go around calling yourself white trash?
As a
do you
joke
think I want to
sometimes.
hire somebody that's white trash?
No. I say it as a joke sometimes. And
I don't like it as a joke. You know what, Derek? You're fired.
Boom!
I think that is so stupid for you to say, you're fired.
Okay.
Go.
All right.
Terrible. You shouldn't use that expression anymore either. How stupid can you be?
My strategy in this process is always to keep my mouth shut in the boardroom, and I totally screwed up this time. But no, we were 4 hours into the first...
Don't you talk bad about the right race in front of my boy Donald, my president. Trump is ending white trash. Yeah. I guess we're gonna do the two pillow thing here because there was two of them stuck together. I already got it in there. Yeah, let's do it. If I start hiccuping though, then it's your guys' fault. All right, so you guys are all aware at this point, obviously, of the Puerto Rico joke. And October 29th, yesterday, Trump drops this video.
I will vote for Donald Trump. Oh my God, I will vote. I will vote for Donald Trump. Oh my God, I will vote. I will vote. I will vote for Donald Trump. The people go out to vote, no fear, no more. Vote for Trump. Let's go. Vote for Trump. If you wanna keep America great, vote for Trump. Let's do it. I vote for Trump. Come on. Oh my God, I will vote. I will vote. Oh yeah, for Donald Trump. Oh my God, I will vote. Oh my God, I will vote for Donald Trump. I don't believe in fake news. All I need is the truth. Because we love our country. We love it just like you. Economy. For Trump. Life is good. For Trump. Because we love our country. We love it just like you. Oh my God, I will vote. I will vote for Donald Trump. Oh my God, I will vote.
It's an earworm.
I will vote for Donald Trump. If you feel proud to be American, raise your hand. God bless America. If you feel proud to be American, raise your hand. God bless America. Oh my God, I will vote. I will vote for Donald Trump.
You know, it's even more of an earworm when it's sung in Spanish. Ya voy a votar por Donald Trump. Sending this to my shitlib band. You guys are cracking me up. Straight Buster says this is the music my wife plays when she's in a good mood. Oh man, I can't so having watched this and the fact that he posted this on the 29th, yesterday, right in the middle of everyone, Puerto Rico. Keep that in mind now, because people are now publicly dropping clips from the Art of the Surge, the Tucker Carlson documentary that we've been watching, the King Pill Discord. And this was one of the coolest clips in the whole thing. George here says, I used to think there was no way Trump was coming up with all these posts by himself, but the Art of the Surge documentary proves it's all him. He literally controls everything to the last detail. He really is just built different. Also, those are some great typing skills right there. This is just so much fun to watch. Did you know that during the Kamala debate, there was a whole ass tweeting war room happening?
Thank you. 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 Thank you.
Oh my God. Is she crazy?
Thank you. Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you so very much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Oh, too many thank yous. About 20. That must be 35.
Traveling from India
Thank
to
you.
California with an unshakable dream to be the scientist.
How many people are watching?
Can we tell how many, Dan? How many people are watching?
She's talking about how great San Francisco was before she destroyed it. A lot of talk about childhood. We've got to get to the border, inflation, and crime. Say these out. The things of which she complains. The things of which she complains.
In many ways, Donald Trump is an unserious man.
Oh. Hear that, folks? Right. Ready? These prosecutions were all started by her and Biden against their political
Trump saying that's too many thank yous. This is the most New York Larry David he ever sounded.
opponents. Me. Get that out right away. She paid and raised bail. She paid bail to get the violent rioters in Minnesota out of jail.
Tim Walz let Minnesota burn. Kamala Harris burned out the
I
ones
love
who
it.
lit the matches.
Put it in there. Put it right in with the stuff, right?
With that post.
Take note of that little moment right there. We're going to come back to that in a minute.
Yeah. Good. You could do it either that or separate.
Say more lies. Lying about the Project 2025.
Oh, lying against Project 25, which she knows, and so do all Democrats, that I have absolutely nothing to do with.
She says we all know the true turbulence.
Now, what's interesting here is she's typing all of this out in Word, and then she's sending it via iMessage to someone. And then you also, I don't remember if it showed it in this, but you've also got Dan Scavino is also like reciting off, like reading. You can hear him like dictating a tweet to people or a post or something like that. So I don't know exactly what they're doing. Like if she posts it here and then sends it to someone and then it gets posted on Twitter, there's someone else who's just copying and pasting into Twitter, and then someone else who's copying and pasting into Truth Social. I don't know. It's interesting seeing how they're doing all this. Especially she's the one that's doing the all caps. Like how many of the all caps decisions are like, some of them he's like, no, do that in all caps. And then other ones, she just knows his voice. So she just does it in all caps. Interesting background on this girl. She was she was like a reporter or news desk, something like that. She's like 22 or 23. She had a really advanced cancer. And when Trump did some like right to try stuff when he was in office, because of that right to try stuff, she was able to try this experimental drug that was still in development and had been held from the market by the FDA, and she was healed. She recovered completely. Cancer's gone. So she is very particularly loyal to him. They talked to her a little bit in the documentary. So the other, so that I said to note that little moment. And this happened. So Perry tweeted this out. This was right around when Trump first started getting back into tweeting again. This is in August. One of the first things that Trump tweeted was, or actually, they started saying it. They started using this framing in the campaign after this. And then Trump tweeted this. So I'll let you burn down the city. I'll raise the funds to bail you out. This is when a great example of when one of our guys got onto their radar. And it looks like this is the moment that it happened. Dan Scavino comes in and reads off this to Trump. And Trump's like, yeah, I love it. Let's run with it.
Out of jail.
Tim Walz let Minnesota burn Kamala Harris bailed out the
I
ones
love
who
it.
lit the matches.
Put it in there. Put it right in with the stuff, right?
With that post,
He
yeah.
would use the
Yeah.
Good.
You could do it either that or separate. Out of jail.
And so that was then they, if I'm remembering the story correctly, JD had said it. And then during the debate, they used that exact same framing again, echoing almost exactly what Perry had said. So it was a pretty clear chain of that. This is where it came from. And JD is our little vector in there. And I mean, Dan Scavino has been very much plugged into like MAGA right-wing Twitter for a very long time. So I've got, I know that opinions are mixed on Indian Bronson. I think he's a great poster. Until further notice, I like Indian Bronson. I think he's great. He tweeted something the other day that he tweeted like a Trump hype video and said, like Trump's going to deport so many people, or Trump's deportation efforts are going to be so successful, even I'm going to get deported. And I thought that was pretty funny. He says, Trump team event advance. Okay, starting over. Trump team event advance GigaChad dressing down retarded Democrat mayor. So this is in Allentown, Pennsylvania. The background here is that they were going to have these things blocked off here, and for the event that was happening, and these intersections, and then the mayor shows up, and you see the mayor here, a little dweeb, and he's trying to get their permits pulled, like right in advance of the rally. And watch this guy, kid almost, young guy, just absolutely dress him the fuck down up and down the street.
Intersection. You said it 3 times. And then all of a sudden, you let the traffic come through, and I'm trying to put out bike rack while dodging cars at the same time. Don't. You think I'm gonna fucking take it off now?
I don't expect you to put yourself in danger.
Oh yeah, well then we got cars coming in from all 4 intersections while I'm in the middle of it. Oh really?
Yes.
You got a press statement yesterday. The city did, saying that this entire block was closed on Apple Maps. You know what it shows? It shows this entire intersection closed. Look it up. You think I'm gonna remove the barricades now? Yeah, you're out of your fucking mind. Don't ever pull that shit on me again. The entire police force was confused. Yeah, go ahead and call your chief, please. You're gonna open it up while the trucks are right there too. Really? You got food trucks right there. This is nuts. How is this in the way of voting? So if someone lives on that block
Our boy is like this close to 109 posting IRL.
right there, they can't walk around to the other side. Why don't you walk it with me? Let's walk. Oh really? Am I being a problem? I'm not the one who lied to you the entire time. You tried to pull some fake shit on the permits. Oh really? You're laughing? You told us Saturday was fine. And then you say we can't have our porta potties there? Really? Okay, go ahead and fucking call them. You're saying you're trying to pull that permit shit on us? You told us we could do that. Oh really? You gotta pull a permit now? Oh, okay, yeah, right. Come on now. Oh really? Election is 8 days away. You said we could close up this entire intersection. And then the day of, you show up in a fresh suit with all your cameras, trying to show like you're big and strong, that you can shut this down. Oh yeah? Oh yeah? Oh, okay, why don't we walk it? Why don't we walk it right now? Let's go and walk it. What are they, Arnold Schwarzenegger? They don't have to do anything crazy. They're literally walking the outside of the fence.
Oh man, the chat is in fine form today. Don't you love to see it? They do not give a shit. They know they're winning. These people know their time is up. They know they're losing. So for those of you who haven't heard about it, maybe you've just heard it, but you haven't actually heard the quote. This was the quote from Biden.
Or Puerto Rico, where I'm in my home state of Delaware, they're good, decent, honorable people. The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters. his demonization of Latino is unconscionable, and it's un-American. Or Puerto Rico, where I.
So here's how Politico quoted it. They say a comedian who appeared ahead of Trump at Madison Square Garden in New York City on Sunday called the American territory a, quote, island of garbage. Biden, in a Zoom call with the organization Voto Latino, said the only, quote, the only garbage was the, quote, hatred of Trump supporters who said such things about American citizens. Now, what's funny here is they changed the quote, but they actually changed it differently than the campaign itself did, or the White House or whatever, what Biden's tweet. Because what Biden said is, no, there's actually supposed to be an apostrophe there. So the only garbage was his supporters garbage, like leaving it's a possessive term, but it's like not repeating garbage again. It's sort of a bit of a more archaic way of phrasing it. The only garbage I see is his supporters. And I actually don't, here's the thing. I actually don't think that was not what he was saying. I think that actually is what he was saying. Because the next thing he says is something about like his demonization of them is unconscionable. So he's saying the only garbage I see out here is his supporters, is Trump's supporters garbage. And he refers to him and says his demonization of them is unconscionable, or whatever he said. So the funny thing here is I think he actually wasn't trying to call everyone garbage. But it doesn't matter because he totally called all Trump supporters garbage, to the point where like they had to like immediately, oh shit, backtrack. Scott Adams says this is mind-boggling. Politico rewrote the Biden quote. So, and here's another thing. Politico rewrote it. So like they knew, okay, we need to defend him. We need to frame this in a way that makes it not look as bad. And so they said the only garbage was the hatred of Trump supporters, not the hatred of that guy. So even they changed it. Their story's not exactly right. So they're like operating on hive mind, which is, oh, we need to modify this quote because holy crap, that's a bad quote. But then they modified it in the wrong way. There's not like explicit coordination happening there. Maybe this is because Biden is on the outs. And so they're just coordinating with the Harris campaign, and Biden and Harris are on the outs. I don't know. In any case, they're very clearly not there. There's a big fracture that's happened. Wolfgang Graves, 199 super chat. He says we're garbage cans, not garbage cants. Some of the memes have been really good, and people have been saying that Trump should go out and now he needs to go out and do a ride on a garbage truck with a garbage disposal guy, which I'm not gonna lie, if he went and did that, even just went and like talked to a guy on the street and like climbed up on the side of the truck and just had some pictures taken, oh my God. In New York, it would be curtains. He might win the vote of the entire state. So here is Democrats now very quickly trying to distance themselves from that catastrophe of a quote. Josh Shapiro, and shout out to Jim Sharp, a powerful mutual. He says, "You think this guy is going to the mat to steal this thing for Harris and put his own ambitions on the back burner until 2032? There's no way. They're going to hang her out to dry. The internal war in the Dem party is on."
Governor, first off, just what's your response to that comment from President Biden, where it sounds like he's calling Trump supporters their garbage?
Yeah, look, I had not heard that until now, Caitlin, so I'm kind of giving you my fresh reaction to it. I would never insult the good people of Pennsylvania or any Americans, even if they chose to support a candidate that I didn't support.
Governor, first off, just what's your response to that?
And here is separately on CNN. Here's another reaction to this.
Say though, Bakari, he was in his house, the White House. He was in his house doing this, and the reporting is that there are places that he can be useful, but he's not everywhere like you might expect a sitting president to be for his vice president?
I don't know that I would expect this president to be everywhere in this moment. I mean, look, a critical element, any coach will tell you, any CEO will tell you, a critical element of running a team and winning is assessing the strengths and weaknesses of your team members and making sure you allocate them in the right way. Joe Biden has never been a big arena speaker. He's never been the most fluid speaker. And by the way, as someone who had a stutter growing up, it's very obvious to me that there's an apostrophe at the end of supporters there. He was referring to the garbage spewed by supporters, not simply the supporters themselves. But Joe Biden has been on the campaign trail. He's best getting ice cream in Maryland like he was today. He's best.
It was a stutter, guys. He stuttered. Notice that the story is different with every person who talks about it. There's no unified marching orders. There's like a broad concept of marching orders, which is figure out a way to defend the blue side in some way. But increasingly, there's more than one blue side to defend.
Showing moments of empathy in Arizona like he was last week. He's best with union folks as he was in Pittsburgh last week as well. You use people where they are best. You put Obama in a big arena, you put Michelle in a big arena, and you put Joe Biden in front of a bunch of union people doing retail politics.
You could make the argument that they would be fine if Joe Biden wasn't anywhere near a microphone between now and next Tuesday.
Let me just accept the most charitable framing of this, which you just gave. Why is he...
Josh Ham, this dreadlocked MFer is telling us he can hear an apostrophe. That's a whole new level of Magic American. We was apostrophe heroes. I'm pretty sure the only reason that this show exists is just to give you guys a live chat to start cooking in. Oh man, does the apostrophe sound like a chirp?
He's sitting in front of a laptop at the exact same moment Kamala Harris is out on his backyard trying to give the closing argument to her campaign. What in the world is he doing? Now, I don't accept your framing of it personally because I actually do believe he, Harris, the Democratic Party, and most of their campaign do believe that half the country is garbage. They've also said people who go to Trump rallies are Nazis. And so it's pretty apparent the disdain with which they hold half of the country in.
That's not true. Party already litigated it in Kamala's speech tonight.
But as a tactical matter today,
No, but you don't just get to say
why in the world is Joe Biden giving remarks at the same time as Kamala Harris?
I'll give you that.
This guy's got one of the best jobs in the world right now.
Say though, Bakari,
He's like the new token conservative on CNN. And all he does is just like throw grenades into these people's laps and make them. He's just there to make the libs chimp on CNN, and he just sits there and smugly does it. I don't care about anything else about him. The fact that he's got this role and he's playing it to a T is brilliant. It's fantastic. Their defense. No apostrophe is better than Daquan. Holy crap, you guys. Oh, man. I'm going to have to clip this later on. Oh, clip that, chat. All right, let's see. So here's Trump's response to it.
Well, I wasn't going to say anything, but I have breaking news for you, Mr. President. You may not have heard this. Just moments ago, Joe Biden stated that our supporters are garbage. Are garbage. He's talking about the Border Patrol. He's talking about nurses. He's talking about teachers. He's talking about everyday Americans who love their country and want to dream big again and support you, Mr. President. And I hope their campaign is about to apologize for what Joe Biden just said. We are not garbage. We are patriots who love America. And thank you for running, Mr. President.
Wow. That's terrible. That's what it says. That's what it says. So you have, remember Hillary, she said deplorable, and then she said irredeemable, right? But she said deplorable, that didn't work out. Garbage, I think, is worse, right? But he doesn't know, you have to please forgive him. Please forgive him, for he not knoweth what he said. These people, terrible, terrible.
Terrible, terrible. He not knoweth what he said. Kevin O'Leary's getting hot. Here's his reaction. I want to see him and Mark Cuban debate. Like, someone get them on a podcast. Joe Rogan, get Kevin O'Leary and Mark Cuban to go like full blood sports in the JRE studios.
Puerto Rico, where I'm in my home state of Delaware, they're good, decent, honorable people. The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters.
The only garbage I see out there are his supporters.
No, it is the deplorables moment again. I'm really surprised he said that, because when you're called human garbage, it motivates you to get off your rear end, off the sofa, and go and vote. I wouldn't do that in the 43 counties where people are saying, it may be raining, I don't think I'm going to do it. But the President of the United States just called me garbage. I'm a little pissed off about that. I think I'm going to go stand in line and I'm going to vote. I think that was a mistake, and I'm sure it's going to get a ton of social media tomorrow. I mean, I know he wishes he could take that back. He is the president of all that garbage. Remember, he represents everybody, including the garbage. I mean, that's crazy.
Yep, that is crazy. He's crazy. This race is crazy, and it's 7 days away until Election Day. And apparently O'Leary's going to wait in line to vote right now.
Puerto Rico.
I'm going to go wait in line to vote right after this show. So we're going to keep this rocking and rolling. The fact that they have Bill Clinton and Joe Biden out campaigning for Kamala, I don't know that they want either one of them. They may want Bill. Bill could probably whip some votes for Kamala, but Biden is clearly in sabotage mode. And whether he's conscious of what he's doing or, Jill is executing her revenge, I don't know what it is, but Biden's clearly in sabotage mode. And old Bill here is not doing a whole lot better.
And he keeps talking about how he wants to get even and may have to call out the military on our own people. The danger within. I suppose that includes me. And I mean, basically, he's asserted the right to go after anybody that he thinks, in his wisdom, is a threat, right?
It's interesting that he's going to put himself in that boat publicly. Because, when I'm thinking about, like, people that Trump needs to go after, honestly, Bill Clinton is pretty low on that list. He's a withering old pervert who's just decaying into the ground, and just let him die. He's not very high up on that list, but he apparently recognizes that he is, and he's going out of his way to bring it up and talk about it.
You sign the oath says you promise to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And he said, I think I'll start with domestic.
So he's like implicitly acknowledging that, yeah, we're a domestic enemy. he's like conceding the frame. I think I'll start with domestic. Yeah, that's probably a good idea. If you have enemies, both foreign and domestic, it's probably important to start with the domestic ones before you go after the foreign ones. I couldn't believe what I was hearing when I started listening to this.
Bring me the army. Now, I used to like President Clinton. I once said only he and Ronald Reagan were the great presidents since World War II. But I've had a change of heart, and I think he needs to go away for a long time. And I'm not going to execute him, although I could, under the Supreme Court's ruling. But I think I'll just send him to the Colorado Supermax for the rest of his life. So I've already got a petition ready. I want him to transfer me to Guantanamo. Because when you're 78, you're a lot more worried about it being too cold than being too hot. We're laughing about this, but let me tell you something. Being president is a sacred duty.
I'm just aghast watching this. I can't believe this. That he's running with this for so long. Please send me to Guantanamo Bay. He's trying to manifest it. Oh, man. This is incredible. All right. Let's get to some JD Vance stuff here. But first of all, I need to give you guys a little confirmation that we are, in fact, doing the Trump-Vance Friend or Fed on the Mir and Chuck Now channel today at 5 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Eastern. It will be Jason, myself, Charles Haywood, and Thomas 777. So I am very honored to be in the presence of those great men. It'll be a great conversation starting at 6 p.m. Eastern tonight on the Mir and Chuck Now channel. And let me give a quick ad read to our beloved sponsor, Axios Fitness Coaching. The current moment we live in is one that prioritizes the inverse of whatever makes men strong, healthy, and capable. That's how you wind up looking like Bill Clinton. The quality of our food continues to decline. Plastics construct everything around us, and the virtues of beauty and strength are continuously denigrated by spiteful mutants. I've got some spiteful mutants coming up here in a minute. To sustain ourselves, we have to take a pathway of action that cultivates and revitalizes our spirit. Return to being builders of culture. What do? We build. Instead of consumers of a cheap synthetic excuse for life. That pathway will require an adoption of physical discipline, and this is what Axios Fitness Coaching seeks to help bring about. Axios Fitness Coaching is a premium resource for holistic strength and conditioning services. They offer standalone training programs as well as individual coaching options should your needs require a more specific approach. Axios is best known for the Training Club, an exclusive community that prioritizes accountability, technique, diet, and nutrition. Everything you need to take action against the decay of modernity. By joining the club, you get access to over 20 different programs that can be personally tailored to your strength levels, available equipment, and injury history. By completing the intake survey, you can see if you're a good candidate for the training club or any of their other services. It's long past time we take our health back into our own hands. Without action, there is only degeneration. And it's going to require a holistic approach on this front. We've got to be building externally and internally. You got to be building yourself spiritually. You got to be building yourself physically. You got to be building yourself financially. So Axios will help you build yourself physically, which is often a fantastic pretext for the others. So the place to go is there's a link in the description of the YouTube video right now. I'm also going to drop a link in the chat here. And I think I could post this I'll post it here. I think it'll go to Twitter. If you're on Twitter, hopefully that dropped in there. If it didn't, it at least dropped in the YouTube chat here. This is the link to the intake survey. You can go fill it out, see what they can do to help you. Or if you want, They have 5 free training templates that you will get if you join the King Pill Discord at the Lord or the King tier. You can get 5 free training templates, and you get added to their custom app. And then you can also take the intake survey and see if you want to do more. So you can get a little taste and then see what else they have to offer. So those are the 2 options. Number 1, the two calls to action here. Number 1, click the link that I just dropped in the chat or that's in the YouTube description. Number 2 is, if you want more, go to kingpill.com, join the King Pill Discord server. In time for, if you get in now, you'll be there for the Schizo stream on Friday. We'll watch some more of that Tucker Carlson documentary series that we just played a clip from. So go to kingpill.com. You get the 5 free training templates if you sign up at the Lord or the King tier. All right. So let us go on now to this one. JD Vance. And whoops, it's on the wrong tab. This tab. JD Vance plays Magic the Gathering, and his favorite card could reveal the GOP candidate's dark political ambitions. I don't Magic the Gathering, but I know that many of our guys here do. And one of the ways I know that is because JD Vance does, and he is like the personification of our guys in politics right now. I thought this comment from Patricia TV was great. He says, "You've just been granted a preview of what mainstream political discourse will be when the last boomer dies. You're getting an early view, folks. This is what it is." I'm going to I'll be putting together the master thread later this evening after I get the show done, and I'll link to this if you want to go read the article and see what the favorite card is. It's all meaningless to me, so it's not a high priority for me. Next one. So JD Vance sat down with Tim Dillon, and it was a great conversation. Very natural. Like they can speak directly to each other. No problems. They're just absolutely part of a cultural milieu, very much connecting with one another. JD Vance says, "I'm actually not a Ron Paul guy, but I've kind of come around to the Ron Paul argument on the Federal Reserve." Let's pull the volume up here.
Isn't it BlackRock, is there a way to calm that down where they're purchasing oil and they're driving up the cost of real estate? You walk around New York City, there are buildings that are full of empty apartments because it's money laundering from people overseas that are stashing money, and it's raising the cost of living for the entire city.
That's exactly right. And you know, if like, I'm actually not a Ron Paul guy. One of my dear friends is a big Ron Paul guy, but like, I've kind of come around to the Ron Paul argument. I don't fully agree with it, but the criticism of the Federal Reserve that makes the most sense to me is that it gives massive corporations a lower cost of money than the average American, right? So part of the reason BlackRock has been able to buy all these homes is you ask, well, what is BlackRock borrowing at? Right? What rate are they borrowing at? Because the average American right now, I think the average mortgage interest rate is somewhere around 7% right now. Okay, BlackRock's borrowing at like 1.5, 2.5%, right? So if they're paying a much lower cost for debt than the average American, then they have a huge advantage. They buy up all the homes, they jack up all the costs. And again, going back to the Jeffersonian idea of Americans as owners and as citizens in their own country, well, what happens when BlackRock owns your home and they say you're not allowed to own a firearm because we own this home, you don't own this home? Okay, there goes the Second Amendment. What if they say, well, for all residents in our places, we don't want you to put up yard signs for certain political candidates? Well, there goes the First Amendment. Yeah. There's a connection, there's a very deep connection between the idea of American citizenship, the full idea, and the liberties that actually make American society such a cool place to live. And if we turn everybody into renters, we're going to destroy that. I mean, I think that, like...
Here's where you're wrong, though. People really like these shows where people buy $20 million homes, like Selling Sunset. Most isn't that as good as owning a home, because there's 30 shows about people buying mansions and people get to watch them. So you don't have to cut grass. You can watch somebody else buy a house. But that is what's happening, by the way.
Yeah. You can live in a pod and eat your roasted crickets, but watch other people living the American dream.
Live in a pod and eat the bugs. He's our guy. Okay.
Isn't it?
Here, I will. Josh Ham wants to know what the card is. So, you know what? We're just going to read this real quick. J.D. Vance plays Magic the Gathering, and his favorite card could reveal GOP candidates' dark political ambitions. J.D. Vance may have revealed his cards too early in the race. Fans of the fantasy card game Magic the Gathering have discovered Vance's favorite card, which they believe reveals everything voters need to know about the vice presidential candidate's values. In a recent interview with Semaphore, the Ohio revealed his adolescent obsession with the game. Quoting, "The big problem with transitioning from being a 13-year-old who likes Magic the Gathering to being a 15-year-old who likes Magic the Gathering is that 15-year-old girls do not like Magic the Gathering," he confessed, "so I dropped it like a bad habit." Donald Trump's 2024 running mate then named his embarrassing favorite card to play, called Yawgmoth's Bargain. I'm assuming I'm pronouncing that correctly. The illustrious card depicts a monstrous, clawed machine's interaction with a robed skeletal entity who's bearing a warning on the caption. He craves only one commodity. The card was introduced in 1999, but has since been banned in most competitive Magic tournaments due to its reputation as the ultimate trump card, which simply wasn't as much fun. The Independent spoke to avid players. At the time, it was probably the most powerful deck you could play, one player from San Francisco told the outlet. I infer from that he's ruthless and wants to win at all costs. Pitting wizard against wizard, the game is played in a series of spells, where Yawgmoth's Bargain renders one player defenseless to the other's onslaught of magic defenses. Essentially, you're not playing an interactive game anymore. You're just sort of playing solitaire while the other person sits there and waits for the game to end, said lifelong Missouri-based player Lucas Kuntz, 42, a Democratic politician running to unseat Republican Senator Josh Hawley. Kuntz was the dude who was out shooting rifles at targets like 7 yards in front of him, and a ricochet clipped a reporter. That's the guy that they're getting to quote on this. If J.D. Vance was playing that at the kitchen table against his buddies, then people probably thought he was kind of a jerk, Kuntz continued, describing its reputation for being a broken card. Magic fans are known for comparing their favorite decks, which are said to reveal key characteristics about a player's personality, according to the Independent's report. On Reddit, a subgroup for Magic players concluded that any deck built around Yawgmoth's Bargain would be associated with greed, ambition, dominance, wickedness, the dead and undead, vampires, demons, blood magic. The idea of it is a deal with the devil, right? You're selling your soul for power. It's power at any cost, and that seems to be what he's into, Kuntz added. Holy crap. I thought the mere existence of the headline as a vector for that tweet from Patrician TV, I thought that was a hell of a story on its own. But oh my God. His favorite Magic the Gathering card when he was 13 might give us a clue about his political ambitions. These people are going in the crystals. Here's another quote from old JD.
Similarity across all American classes. If you have a permanent class of low-wage serfs, many of whom don't even speak English, that destroys the citizenship ethos that makes our democracy possible in the first place. These people don't care because they want the cheap labor. I care because I love my country.
A lot of people look at America more as a financial opportunity than a country.
And it's not. It can't be that. Right? American citizenship cannot just be a bunch of people who work and make financial transactions with one another. You don't go and fight wars because the guy down the street makes a lot of money trading derivatives on Wall Street, right? You go and fight wars if you have a nation that you believe in. And importantly, if you have faith that your leaders are only going to send you to fight a war when they have to.
And this is
that's what's been broken.
Right. And this is not only America, it's countries all over the world, all over Europe. Globalization, the benefits of it have been unevenly distributed, to say the least. You have a class of people that are, many of them own assets.
Yes.
And they've seen the value of those assets increase. Many of them are invested in the market. And they're incredibly happy with the freedom to move capital around the world and make lots and lots of money. but the citizens of the countries that they live, their standards of living have been lowered and lowered and lowered. And this is not, it's not only America, it's this financial architecture that seems to be replacing people's cultures, histories, and idea of what a nation is.
Yeah, and the real economy too, right? We used to make stuff, and now we're trading derivatives and shipping dollars overseas, but also shipping assets overseas, where we used to make that stuff in the United States. I mean, crazy statistic. What do you think the life premium for having a bachelor's degree is in this country? In other words, if you have a bachelor's degree, how much longer do you live than a person without a bachelor's degree?
10 years?
7 years.
Wow.
7 years. You live 7 years longer for having gone to college in the United States of America. And you put this well. The way that I would put it is globalization, it's been very good for rich people in rich countries, and it's been very good for poor people in poor countries.
Right.
It's been extraordinarily bad for poor people and middle-class people in rich countries, right?
Right.
And in some ways, the whole Donald Trump movement is a rebellion against, okay, well, some people have benefited from this. Like, some people benefited when my steel mill, the steel mill that employed my grandfather for 40 years, when it went from 10,000 jobs to 1,800 jobs, right?
Yeah.
But it wasn't the people that I grew up around, and it wasn't our families, and it wasn't the moms and dads who got divorced because the dad usually, but sometimes the mom lost a stable middle class wage. I mean, again, Republicans are like, we're supposed to be the party of family and of family values. You know what's really bad for family values? When thousands of people at the drop of a hat lose a good middle class wage. Right? That's not good for family values. That destroys families. And again, we can do so much better, but we've got to get away from this failed consensus the last 40 years.
But
man, this is not just like brilliant political rhetoric. It's also true. And that's why it's brilliant political rhetoric. That's why it works so well politically, because it's so incredibly true. Could you have imagined that we would have an American politician, a front runner for vice president, talking this way? Big old white pill. All right, I got to keep this going kind of quick here because I may have to drop a couple of things from the back end here because still got 40 minutes. I got 40 minutes left till I need to go leave and vote and trying to get through here. So I'm going to start speeding up some of these clips just a little bit. Oh my God. So here is the Jake Tapper clip. I'm going to play it for you now, and then we'll be able to reference it later as I'm reading the Molly Hemingway piece.
Ask yourself a basic question about network integrity. You guys talked about the Russia hoax nonstop.
The FBI was investigating it. The FBI was investigating it, and so we recovered them.
And so you took the words of unnamed FBI agents and put them on your network as if they were the gospel truth. You did it again and again. A viewer of your network would have believed that Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin conspired in 2016.
No.
That was totally and preposterously false.
No.
Well, that's
what you just said
why.
is false. We covered an FBI investigation. I don't know why you want to talk about the FBI investigation.
You covered it in a way that gave credence to anonymous sources' accusations. You did it yourself. Your network did it, Jake. But again, can we talk about the issues that Americans care
I'm talking about things that Donald Trump has said.
Yes.
If you have an issue with whether or not he's talking about the economy enough, that's between you and your running mate. I'm talking about things he has said this week.
Every single rally that he does, he talks about how he wants to unleash American energy so we can lower the cost of groceries. He talks about the fact that housing has become unaffordable. He talks about the wide open border, Jake. Kamala Harris and her allies, you know, it's interesting. Kamala Harris and her media allies, and I would put CNN in this category. You guys seem to care.
I'll tell you that. They wouldn't.
Well, they should watch your network more because you guys seem to care more about Donald Trump's past than the future of the American people. We're running this campaign on making the American dream.
I'm specifically asking about how Donald Trump is going to be president in the future should he win, and then we're being told
he's going to pursue economic policies that lower the cost of groceries and make life more affordable again. He talks about it every single day on the campaign trail, and so do I. What you're talking about is an anonymously sourced story, or one guy one guy who was a disgruntled employee.
I told you
five other people pushed back against him and said that what he said was dishonest. So why don't we talk about the policy that's affecting American citizens and not what Donald Trump allegedly said, according to one guy who's pissed off because he got fired by Donald Trump?
Look at the contrast here between JD with Tim Dillon having a friendly conversation with an ally versus JD in bulldog mode going after a sleaze bag. Very based. So here's this piece. Sean Davis says, this is a monster story from Molly Hemingway about how she randomly became an eyewitness to Jake Tapper, Jim Sciutto, and James Clapper Jake Tapper and James Clapper, launching the Russian collusion hoax together. It's a story about what happened on a CNN set in January 2017 that's never been told before until now. So let's open this and let's read this piece. Jake Tapper is lying about CNN's key role in the Russia collusion hoax. Written October 29, 2024 by Molly Hemingway. Tapper is not allowed to rewrite his horrible history of propagating the Russia collusion hoax. On January 12, 2017, I appeared on a CNN panel to discuss current events. It was memorable, and not just because we were taping from the roof of a building near the U.S. Capitol as part of the outlet's special coverage of Trump's first inauguration. Just as we were about to go on, we were significantly delayed by President Barack Obama, surprising Vice President Joe Biden with a Presidential Medal of Freedom. As I recall, there were maybe 5 or 6 of us on set, including former Obama political appointee Jim Sciutto and host Jake Tapper, 2 of the 4 authors of the most important story of the entire Russia collusion hoax. Intel chiefs presented Trump with claims of Russian efforts to compromise him, had been published just 2 days prior, followed up by BuzzFeed publishing the actual document claiming widespread collusion between Trump and Russia. That document, which 9 months later was revealed to have been secretly bought and paid for by Hillary Clinton and the Democratic National Committee, included salacious lies about Trump supposedly paying prostitutes to urinate on a bed that the Obamas had slept in during a visit to a fancy Moscow hotel. The hysteria was such that many people wondered if Donald Trump would make it to the inauguration. It may sound crazy now, but Washington, D.C. at that time was full of people who either believed or pretended to believe that Donald Trump really had colluded with Russia to steal the election. I was one of the exceedingly few who didn't. I thought Hillary Clinton's Russia information operation was silly before the election, and when she turned to it as an explanation of her loss, I thought a likelier explanation was that Americans liked Trump's policies and disliked hers. I said so on television during December when faulty and weak intelligence assessments from the Obama administration were issued in an effort to legitimize her stance. Biden's Presidential Medal of Freedom ceremony finally ended and the regular programming began. Evan Perez, a third co-author on the big story, Carl Bernstein being the fourth, did a report from a different location about a rare statement from known liar James Clapper, Obama's director of national intelligence. In his statement, Clapper claimed to have been dismayed by the leaks that led to the CNN story and said he did, quote, not believe the leaks came from within the IC, meaning intelligence community. Tapper defends his Russia collusion hoax. Before I tell you what happened next, I need to explain why I've never told the story publicly before. During commercial breaks and while remote reporters are on air, people on television sets share personal stories, funny jokes, and information about stories they're working on. I have long treated on-set interactions that are not broadcast as not to be discussed. But in the same way that a reporter can publicly disclose an anonymous source who burns them with bad information, Tapper and CNN are causing serious harm to the country with a revisionist history of their own key role in the Russia collusion hoax. It's become a matter of conscience that I stop hiding what I witnessed at CNN. In his debate Sunday with J.D. Vance, an extremely emotional and petulant Tapper asked no policy questions, choosing instead to talk almost exclusively about the mean things that neoconservatives such as General John Kelly and former Representative Liz Cheney have to say about Trump. And an amazing coincidence, this is also a major closing argument of the Kamala Harris presidential campaign. Vance highlighted the unimportant nature of Tapper's questions, noted that the claims were credibly disputed, and kept trying to turn the conversation to important policy distinctions between the two campaigns. Vance also noted Tapper's problems with integrity, highlighting his media outlet's leading role in driving the hysteria surrounding the dangerous Russia collusion conspiracy. Tapper claimed falsely that all he and his colleagues did was report that the FBI was investigating the matter. He further claimed falsely that his viewers would not have been led to believe that Trump had conspired with Russia. Vance, ask yourself a basic question about network integrity. You guys talked about the Russia hoax nonstop. Tapper, the FBI was investigating it. The FBI was investigating it. So we covered them. Vance, and so you took the words of unnamed FBI agents and put them on your network as if they were the gospel truth. You did it again and again. A viewer of your network would have believed that Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin conspired in 2016. No, that was totally and preposterously false. No. That's why what you just said is false. We covered an FBI investigation. I don't know why you want to talk about the FBI investigation. Vance, you covered it in a way that gave credence to anonymous sources' accusations. You did it yourself. Your network did it, Jake. But again, can we talk about the issues that Americans care most about? Nothing Vance said was false, even if it understated the mendacity of CNN's massive role in fanning the flames of the Russia collusion hoax. More on that in a bit. Grabbing wrists. Back on the roof in January of 2017, Evan Perez was shown on television reading and reporting on Clapper's statement from a remote location. Tapper and his colleagues interpreted the statement as confirmation of their story and a repudiation of Trump's dismissal of the Russia collusion story as false. While Perez's package was airing, and at the point he read Clapper saying he didn't think the leak came from the intelligence community, Sciutto said that he was pretty sure Clapper knew the link came from the intelligence community because, he said, trailing off as he rolled his hands suggestively and somewhat like a football referee very slowly calling a false start. He said it for all to hear, though I'm not sure anyone else other than Jake Tapper, who he was sitting to the right of, and I heard and understood. Tapper squeezed Sciutto's left wrist the way my mom used to squeeze my wrist at church when I was being too loud. I interpreted this message roughly as, "Stop talking, you idiot." Sciutto was a former Obama administration political appointee in the State Department. It wasn't clear if he was saying that Clapper had leaked to him or one of his 3 co-authors, a Clapper aide had leaked to CNN, or merely that Clapper knew Comey or one of his aides was leaking to CNN. It may be hard to remember, but at this point in the Russia collusion information operation, people knew almost nothing. Few, if any, people realized the FBI was corrupt. People didn't even realize Comey's central role running the scam. As far as they knew, and would be told incessantly by Tapper, the intelligence alleging Russia collusion came from a British super spy and was so credible that it was being taken extremely seriously by trustworthy intelligence agencies. Incoming National Security Advisor Mike Flynn had not yet been outed in an FBI setup that included criminal leaks. Attorney General Jeff Sessions hadn't recused himself from his job after he was leaked against. We didn't know that 4 affiliates of the Trump campaign had been spied on. We didn't know that the FBI had lied to the FISA court to get wiretaps on one of them. We didn't know about all of the unmasking and leaking against incoming Trump administration officials. We really knew nothing about how corrupt and political the deep state was, and we didn't yet understand that major media existed almost exclusively as regime mouthpieces, uncritically serving as leak receptacles for the information operations they run against the American people. After we were done that day, Tapper came up to me on the roof, something he rarely did when I saw him at CNN, and told me that he really wanted to get me on his Sunday show. I perceived this as an attempt to keep me quiet about what I had witnessed. It failed, and I began writing immediately about how the dossier story was an information operation being fueled by top officials in the intelligence community. I published top-level intel officers' war against Donald Trump is bad for the country a few days later. I was able to write that piece as well as spend the next few years confidently fighting the Russia collusion hoax under unbelievable resistance because of Jim Sciutto and Jake Tapper's actions that day. I already doubted the Russia collusion hoax because I knew actual Trump voters, but that day I realized that even the authors of the signature Russia collusion article knew it was an intelligence community leak operation and were uncritically regurgitating it. If I knew enough to do what I did based on that tiny interaction between Jim Sciutto and Jake Tapper sure as hell knew enough not to not take part in the regime's information operation he promulgated every day for the next few years. Tapper is trying to hide now and accurately saying he merely reported what government operatives leaked to him. What he did was much worse. But even if that was all he did, it would be indefensible. In a 2013 New Yorker essay on Bob Woodward, John Cassidy wrote, quote, "The real rap on Woodward isn't that he makes things up. It's that he takes what powerful people tell him at face value, that his accounts are shaped by who cooperates with him and who doesn't, and that they lack context, critical awareness, and ultimately historic meaning." In a 1996 essay for the New York Review of Books, Joan Didion wrote that, quote, "Measurable cerebral activity is virtually absent," end quote, from Woodward's post-Watergate books, which are notable mainly for, quote, "a scrupulous passivity, an agreement to cover the story not as it is occurring, but as it is presented, which is to say, as it is manufactured," end quote. Amen and amen. A real reporter does not operate as a leak receptacle for nefarious government agents. A real reporter knows if the intelligence agencies are going out of their way to manufacture a story, he should at the very least be extremely skeptical, and ideally he should tell the truth about intelligence agencies leaking in order to hurt a political opponent. Jake Tapper wasn't covering an FBI investigation into Russia collusion. He was really willing to work with them in an information operation alleging that the 2016 election was stolen. If I knew it was all a big scam by January 12, 2017, he knew even earlier. It wasn't just coverage of an FBI investigation. What's up, Jim Bob folks? We're getting rated. Hit the like button on your way in. We're at 152, 74 likes. Can we make it 7 days in a row? Can we make it 7 consecutive labes that we have 100 likes while the stream is live? I think we can. Yeah, he sent Bob's. Hillary Clinton and DNC operatives have spent the better part of 2016 trying to push their Russia collusion disinformation operation out to anybody who would run with it. It was so weak that almost no one bit, and those who did were exclusively partisan activists. They had, however, managed to get the FBI to run wild with it, even using it to help secure a wiretap to spy on an American. But the point was really to get the made-up dossier out into the public. Clinton and the DNC designed and developed the Russia collusion dossier through Fusion GPS. That group claimed that the author of the dossier was Christopher Steele, who they pitched to the press as some kind of former British super spy. He turned out to be something of a politically motivated joke who had outsourced the collection of information to a guy who seemed to brainstorm outlandish ideas for the dossier with his drinking buddies, and who had previously been the subject of an inconclusive FBI counterintelligence investigation into whether he was a Russian spy. And the, quote, most important contributor to the Russia collusion hoax dossier was identified by the Wall Street Journal as a disgruntled Russian public relations executive with a reported drinking problem. One of the, a very important thing to take away from all of this is how these people are operating. These are very unimpressive, incompetent people. I'm reminded of Peter Thiel talking to Joe Rogan about how skeptical he is of some of these deep, dark conspiracies just because he could see how incompetent the people who occupy the intelligence communities are by and large. He's like, I don't know if they could pull off a super mastermind political assassination or what have you. Because the competence just genuinely is not there. These are bumbling, retarded, incompetent people who kind of were like, oh, well, our power is so secure that we could just do whatever we want. And then it turned into, holy crap, we need to do whatever we want. And we're just constantly covering for ourselves all along the way and hoping that our capture of the people's minds is going to be so strong that they'll just continue going along with it. And that progressed for a while, but they've just been spending capital. They're not making it anymore. They've just spent all the political capital that they spent decades accumulating. And they're running out. They don't have a capacity for regenerating political capital. This is why an incoming producer class is such a big freaking deal. Because there is a massive demand for production. The existing regime has been a consumptive regime, a parasitic regime, just sucking. Now there's increasing demand for producing many things. You can think of this on many levels. Producing babies, producing products, producing food, producing culture, producing spiritual will. It's a great time to be a producer. Even years before all of that, before that all slowly came out, no serious journalist would touch the dossier of made-up stories and unsubstantiated claims because they almost certainly get sued. It was a real conundrum for Democrats, and there was a real problem inside intelligence agencies. They had just spent the previous year running an insane investigation into whether Trump was himself a Russian spy and had gone after key people associated with his campaign, including incoming National Security Advisor Mike Flynn. At an Oval Office meeting on January 5, 2017, FBI Director James Comey discussed what to do about the Russian collusion operation with President Obama, Vice President Joe Biden, and National Security Advisor Susan Rice. Obama gave guidance about how to perpetuate the Russia collusion hoax investigations. They discussed whether and how to withhold national security information, likely including details of the investigation into Trump himself from the incoming Trump National Security team. Imagine if Mike Flynn learned that Comey's people had been spying on Trump campaign affiliates and investigating him. An ostensibly similar briefing about Russian interference efforts was given to Trump on January 6, after which Comey privately briefed Trump on the P-tape allegation contained in the Clinton-funded dossier. The extra briefing was because the intelligence couldn't be included in an official intelligence report as it was that much of a joke and hadn't been verified by any legitimate institution, even if the FBI had used it to secure a warrant on an American. Comey told Trump, and later memorialized in memos, that he was giving the briefing because CNN was, quote, looking for a news hook in order to publish a story about the dossier, and he wanted to warn Trump about it. We've hit 100. Amazing. You guys are incredible. Thank you for the raid, and thank you to Screwed Up Rebellion for prompting the raid. Oinks in the chat. Shout out to Pig Dirk. You will never guess the news hook CNN used to publish their story about the dossier. Okay, you did guess, and yes, it was that that Comey had briefed Trump about the dossier. The leak of the briefing of Trump was used to legitimize a ridiculous dossier full of allegations the FBI knew to be false, and that multiple news organizations had previously refused to report on for lack of substantiation, and it created a cloud of suspicion over Trump's incoming administration by insinuating he was being blackmailed by Russia. BuzzFeed, using the CNN story as justification, published the full dossier hours later. It was all very convenient. Incidentally, Jake Tapper was livid with Ben Smith, the editor of BuzzFeed, for publishing the actual dossier after Jake's story ran. He said, quote, collegiality-wise, it was you stepping on my dick. I think your move makes the story less serious and credible, he said, adding, I think you damaged its impact. He was right. Tapper had carefully written the story with his colleagues to make it seem like the Clinton-funded dossier was nonpartisan and extremely serious. When Smith published what it actually was, everyone outside of D.C. and New York could see it was hilariously juvenile. It was so stupid that you had to be an idiot to believe it. On that note, Vance said CNN viewers believed the Russia collusion hoax, which Tapper denied. In fact, a 2018 poll showed that a shocking 67% of Democrats believed that Russia had tampered with vote totals in the 2016 election. Even in 2020, years after it was debunked by real reporters, a majority of Americans believed Tapper's daily drumbeat of disinformation about Russia colluding with Trump. Tapper once mocked the majority of Republicans who believed, accurately, that the Obama administration had spied on the Trump campaign. Now, don't think that it's a coincidence that she's laying all of this out and recapping all of this right now. It's going to be very useful having this whole thing delineated in one place. This is CNN. To take just a few examples of how Tapper and CNN pushed the Russia collusion hoax relentlessly, let's first note that they hired Clapper and other intelligence officials involved in the information operation to help amplify the Russia collusion hoax with their on-air commentary. In February of 2017, CNN reported another blockbuster that was also false. U.S. investigators corroborate some aspects of the Russia dossier. Jake Tapper kept saying that the dossier had been corroborated for years until the story became an embarrassment. Also in February 2017, my husband, then a senior writer at the Weekly Standard, wrote a media criticism column for that magazine on the problems surrounding the credulous use of anonymous sources to report on the alleged Trump-Russia scandal. Quoting, "It's now widely believed that CNN jumped the gun and failed to confirm key details of the dossier because they were too trusting of the high-ranking Obama intelligence officials who vouched for the story," he wrote. Naturally, those officials remain anonymous. This observation caused Tapper to fly off the handle and send an angry email to the editors of the Weekly Standard, which was CC'd to the other three authors of CNN's dubious report on the dossier. In June of 2017, they were forced to pull one of their Russia-Trump conspiracy stories based on a single anonymous source. The stories were always sourced to anonymous intelligence officials who connected Anthony Scaramucci to a Russian investment fund managed by a Kremlin-controlled bank. At least in that case, 3 CNN journalists were fired for their shoddy work. And the funny thing is that Anthony Scaramucci is now like completely in the tank for Kamala. Also in June of 2017, Jake Tapper co-authored a story claiming James Comey would dispute Donald Trump's claim that Comey had told him 3 times he was not under investigation. Here's how Tapper's story began. In his much anticipated congressional testimony on Thursday, fired FBI Director James Comey will dispute President Donald Trump's blanket claim that he was told he was not under investigation multiple times, according to sources familiar with Comey's thinking. Rather, one source said that Comey is expected to tell senators that he never assured Trump he was not under investigation because such assurances would have been improper. Another source hinted that the president may have misunderstood the exact meaning of Comey's words, especially regarding the FBI's ongoing counterintelligence investigation. End quote. The story got major play on CNN, with Comey's alleged disputation being treated as credible and Trump's claim treated as non-credible. When Comey testified under oath, however, he not only admitted he kept telling Trump he wasn't under investigation, contrary to the information operation he'd helped run through leaks to the media and other means, but he had done so 3 times, exactly as Trump said. The first time he said it, he volunteered it without even being asked. The story was rewritten rather than retracted, and a bizarre note was appended at the top that said, quote, "Comey does not directly dispute that Trump was told multiple times he was not under investigation." What a journalistically disastrous way to say Comey, quote, completely confirmed in every way what Trump said about being told he was not under investigation. In December of 2017, CNN went wild with a story claiming that congressional investigators learned Donald Trump Jr. had been given advance notice via email about Democrat documents before they were published. The story didn't include any evidence that the random person who emailed Trump Jr. was correct, that his email had been opened, that he was anyway connected to Russia, or anything really to justify the hysteria. But then it got worse. It turned out that CNN's Manu Raju had completely and utterly botched the story, which he claimed was based on 2 anonymous sources. Instead of advance notice on September 4, it was late notice on September 14, well after the documents were publicly available. Clearly, he just ran with the story from 2 people in Representative Adam Schiff's office who couldn't read dates properly. Speaking of Raju, he was a favorite and reliable leak recipient for the Democrats pushing the Russian collusion hoax. And here's a whole bunch of links to articles. He also helped bury the confirmation that Susan Rice was involved in unmasking Trump officials, contrary to what she had said publicly. CNN literally ran thousands of false and misleading Russia collusion stories. Jake Tapper didn't limit his embrace of hoaxes to the Russian collusion hoax, mind you. He also gave credence to Julie Swetnick's false claims about Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh, the Fine People hoax, COVID hysteria, and the most extreme Democratic lawfare. After the 2016 election, I doubted the Russia collusion hoax that took Washington by storm because I knew actual Trump voters and because I'd lived through other moments of hysteria, including the march to the Iraq war based on fraudulent intelligence assessments. But the confidence I had in reporting that the Russia collusion hoax was a nefarious information operation was thanks to Jake Tapper and Jim Sciutto revealing it as such on set that day. In a way, I'm thankful because I never would have had the courage to take on all of the media to report the truth. But Tapper is not allowed to rewrite his horrible history or the horrible history of CNN. He and the network he appears on should not be treated as credible. It's very interesting having this laid out all in order here now, because the way the information ecosystem has built out, there's now a brilliant delineation with all the information captured in one place that people can just link to, building the case against some of these ne'er-do-wells. All right, let's keep this jamming here. Some vote updates. North Carolina Republicans expanded their early voting lead again, and Democrats are now getting outvoted by independents. So Republicans have 34% of the vote, independents have 33%, and Democrats have under 33%. Some context, even in 2020, when Dems dominated early voting, Republicans still didn't get outvoted by independents here. So I guess the big question would be, are independents breaking more for Trump or more for Kamala? We're getting a huge turnout of independents who suddenly see this as the opportunity that they need to vote. It's a very interesting little data point. Shout out to Eric Doherty. Another guy who's starting to make a regular appearance here, Victor Jokes. He says, at this point in 2020, D's had a 49,660 voter advantage in Nevada. Today, ours have a 40,267 voter edge. That's an 89,927 voter swing for Republicans in a state Biden won by less than 34,000 votes. So a 90,000 vote swing in a state that Biden won by under 34%. At this point in 2020, 295,490 Republicans had voted in Nevada. Today, it's 312,634. So Republicans are up 17,144. At this point in 2020, it was 345,150 Democrats who had voted, and today it's 272,367. So Democrats are down almost 73,000. So that accounts for that 90,000 vote swing. Interestingly, that's the breakdown of it. More from Victor Jokes. This is the same tweet. I had it opened twice. So let me close that. And let's come to New Jersey. New Jersey early in-person vote. Shout out to Kate in the chat. She's been whipping her state into gear. New Jersey early in-person vote. Republicans are plus 4,600 out of 379,000 votes. Now, I mean, clearly, there's a lot more than 379,000 votes in New Jersey. Even people, actual people who are voting. But this is in keeping with all the exact same trends that are going in every other state. In every other state, Democratic turnout is down massively. Data Republican, I've shared some stuff from this, I'm assuming, guy. Maybe it's a woman. I don't know. This person, Data Republican, says, FYI, this is my first and only nationwide prediction from 2016, the first time I predicted an election based on early voting alone. 48 out of 50 states, the wrong ones I got were Wisconsin and Michigan, which I forecasted as being tied and gave to Hillary. So their prediction, they got the whole write-up here. I'm not going to read it through here because crunched on time. But Data Republican nailed 48 out of 50 states in 2016. They said that they didn't do 2020 because they were focused on only Florida and North Carolina. I purposefully did not predict nationwide because COVID made it too difficult to gauge relative turnout. However, I definitely would have predicted Georgia and Arizona for Trump if pressed because I assumed both were to the right of Florida and North Carolina. So in spirit, I did get it wrong. That's why I'm doing one state at a time now. well, I'll end up having more from Data Republican in the future. So just keep that in the back of your mind. This is from Atlas Intel Polls, the most accurate pollster of the 2020 election. Eric Doherty's sharing this. This is their final electoral map. So on this map, they have Kamala taking North Carolina and Virginia and New Hampshire and New Mexico and Minnesota, in addition to all the other expected core blue states. But Trump takes Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada. And Wisconsin. I already said Wisconsin. So Trump wins in this map with 296 electoral votes. And this is, again, from the most accurate pollster of the 2020 election. So take it for what it's worth. Here's what CNN is talking about. Let me speed this up a skosh. No sound? Of course. Sharing again. I'm going to start it playing again, and hopefully there is sound this time. And I'm just going to let it keep playing.
Just 28% of Americans, voters, think the country is going in the right direction, is on the right track. And I want you to put that into a historical perspective for you. Okay, what's the average percentage of the public that thinks that the country is on the right track when the incumbent party loses? It's 25%. That 25% looks an awful bit like that 28% up there. It doesn't look anything like this. 42% doesn't look anything like this 28%. So the bottom line is very few Americans think the country is on the right track at this particular point. It tracks much more with when the incumbent party loses than with it wins. In fact, I went back through history. There isn't a single time in which 28% of the American public thinks the country is going on the right track in which the incumbent party actually won. They always lose when just 28% of the country believes that the country is on the right track.
It is a hard, you are swimming upstream if you're trying to win in this environment. Also, President Biden, on the micro level, a lot of the coverage today is over something President Biden said. On the macro level, what kind of a weight is he on the Harris campaign?
Yeah, so, Joe Biden isn't on the ballot, but he's...
Yeah, I kind of like this autistic little Jew here. I'm kind of developing a fondness for his goofy mannerisms.
Certainly in the minds of Americans, right? So I went back and I looked, okay, was the successor of the same party when the president's net approval rating was negative at this point, which Joe Biden's most definitely is. He's 15 points underwater. Now, we don't know if Kamala Harris is going to succeed Joe Biden, but we know back in 2008, George W. Bush, his approval rating was down in the 20s. Did a Republican succeed George W. Bush? No. How about in 1968, Lyndon Baines Johnson? His net approval rating was negative. Did a Democrat succeed Lyndon Baines Johnson? No. How about in 52, Harry S. Truman? His approval rating was in the 20s, if not the upper teens. Did a Democrat succeed Harry S. Truman in 52? My memory, no. No, as Kate Baldwin says.
Diana.
No. Diana.
Secretary.
Well played. Close. Wrong time of the year.
Well played.
Dwight Eisenhower, a Republican, succeeded Harry S. Truman. So the bottom line is, for Kamala Harris to win, she'd have to break history, be a Democrat to succeed Joe Biden when Biden's approval rating is way underwater at this point.
Again, it could happen. It just doesn't in recent history for sure. Okay, registration numbers, Harry.
Yeah, Republicans have been registering voters in big, huge numbers. They have been gaining in party registration versus the Democrats in the swing states with party registration. We're talking Arizona. I think it's a 5-point. They've expanded their lead from 5 points from where it was back in 2020. How about Nevada? Big Republican registrations there. They like the early vote. How about North Carolina? Big Republican registration gains. How about Pennsylvania? We spoke about it before a few months ago. Big Republican party registration gains versus from where they were 4 years ago. So Republicans are putting more Republicans in the electorate. The Democratic number versus the Republican number has shrunk. And so the bottom line is, if Republicans win, come next week, Donald Trump comes next week, the signs all along will have been obvious. We would look at the right direction being very low, Joe Biden's approval rating being very low, and Republicans really registering numbers. You can't say you weren't warned.
Okay. So let's keep it rolling here. Breaking, in an apparent 6-3 ruling, the Supreme Court has blocked the attempts of Democrats to allow non-citizens to vote in Virginia. Democrats sued to force Virginia to keep on the voting rolls self-admitted non-citizens who are ineligible to vote. 6-3. Now, it should be no surprise which justices voted against Virginia enforcing the law with respect to election integrity right before a presidential election. But I think this is a worthy data point if we're going to start trying to project or anticipate what the how the Supreme Court may behave with respect to election-related issues. They moved on this one quick. They were very prompt. That doesn't necessarily mean they will always be, but we're accumulating a track record to compare to. So here's a tweet that has, let's see if it's picked up any more since it was first tweeted. Let's see, up to 3 million views. So this one's going viral now. This is from Matthew S. DePerno, Esquire. After reviewing the qualified voter file of votes actually cast as of yesterday, October 29, 2024, the database identifies 114,545 Michigan voters who have cast 279,113 ballots from multiple addresses across the state. This results in 164,568 excess ballots as of 10/29/24. Below is one voter ID. So here's one voter ID, and here's the ballots that were all, it says the votes were all recorded on 10/25. I don't know if that means that's when they were all cast, or if there's like they're cast and then they're recorded. But this is one voter ID that cast all of these. So this guy drops it out here, constitutional attorney serving the state of Michigan. And Rasmussen highlights it. Michigan, one voter ID with 29 separate votes already. Yeah, nothing wrong there. All good. Move along. So look away, look away, look away. Pure Michigan. Who is this? James Blair. Our team is in touch with M. DePerno. We're reviewing his observations and will take any action necessary after thorough review. Who is James Blair? James Blair is the political director of the Trump 2024 campaign and Republican National Committee. Now we're starting to see how the cookie crumbles. Here's another one. Possible Pennsylvania fraud alert from John Lefebvre. This picture here for this address. Possible Pennsylvania fraud alert. The Bethesda Mission Men's Shelter in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. More than 2x people registered voters than beds. 90% plus registered Democrats, most with zero voting history. And the way this works is they take the homeless people and they ensure that the homeless people cast a ballot. Robbie Starbuck signal boosts this. What's this one up to? This one need more numbers? 46,000. Not too bad. Let's get a little bit more. This is very concerning. How many places like this exist in swing states with supposed voters? Meanwhile, local TV station says the Pennsylvania election results that were displayed during the Formula One Mexico Grand Prix was a test for the election. Test results for the upcoming November 5 general election mistakenly appeared on WNEP TV early Sunday evening during a broadcast of the Formula One Mexico Grand Prix. The numbers seen on the screen were randomly generated test results sent out to help news organizations make sure their equipment is working properly in advance of election night. So note them down here on the bottom and notice what the numbers say. I think it's funny that they have Chase Oliver like doubling up Jill Stein. That's pretty funny. Oh, look at that. A resounding Democrat up and down ballot win. Interesting. So when they randomly generated numbers to post up here, it just happened to randomly generate Harris winning numbers. Well, and this is just one tweet talking about this. It became a big thing immediately. This is what's different between now and 2020. That doesn't guarantee that there's going to be a different outcome, but these are things that are building up and pushing in the direction of a different outcome. That now there's millions of people who are on high alert, focused on this, and ready to amplify it into a huge story that's going to go directly to the Trump campaign and their legal team right away. So by the time that the legal team is getting to work on something, public opinion is already turning in support of them. Here's another one. Colorado voting machine passwords were leaked online by the Democrat Secretary of State. Specifically, over 600 passwords from machines in 63 of the state's 64 counties were posted for anyone to see. Oopsies! BIOS passwords are highly confidential, allowing broad access for knowledgeable users to fundamentally manipulate systems and data and to remove any trace of doing so. Due to the sensitivity surrounding BIOS passwords, Colorado election regulation requires limited access to a select few in the Colorado Department of State. Neither county clerks nor commissioners have access to these files. This is quoting from the Colorado GOP. Someone signed an affidavit swearing under the penalty of perjury that they downloaded the file from Jenna Griswold's website and discovered the hidden tab by simply clicking unhide. Hey, Secretary of Fraud, Jenna Griswold, how about you start upholding election laws instead of spending all your time gaslighting the rest of us about how safe and secure our elections are? So here's Jenna Griswold. I'm going to not take... For crying out loud. So I'm definitely done using Vivaldi, which is unfortunate because I love this tab stacking thing, but the browser just crashed. I think I'm back up now. Yeah, okay. Everything's back. As I was saying, this is the Colorado Secretary of State, Jenna Griswold, responding in an interview.
A final question. This is not the first time that your office has made mistakes that have damaged voters' confidence in our elections. In 2022, your office sent out mailers to 30,000 non-citizens inviting them to register to vote. They, of course, are not eligible to register to vote. That same year, your office used Colorado's ballot tracking system to send messages to specific Coloradans encouraging them to vote when, in fact, they had already voted, causing confusion that had to be cleaned up by the county clerks. And now this leak of the voting system passwords. Given your office's repeated errors that have damaged confidence in our elections, which you say is paramount, will you resign?
Absolutely not, Kyle. And I just want to, you're unfairly characterizing and leaving out some crucial information.
A final.
She's choking on her own tongue. Yeah, and she absolutely drives a Subaru. This is like theater kid incarnate. Imagine how fucked your state governance must be to wind up with someone like this as your Secretary of State. She looks miserable, like a miserable human being. Yeah. Now, this is another one. For those of you who are out in some of these states who haven't gone to vote yet, this may be something to keep an eye out for. I'd be very curious to see if you guys see something along these lines. Early voter line in Quakertown, Pennsylvania cut at something p.m. Police officer tells voter the process is slow and grueling, so they're refusing to let people vote. We have a right to vote until time. He didn't put it in. Why is it closed? Officer, let me explain it to you. The process is very slow and grueling. So here's the interaction.
I have a question. I have to bring someone here about 4 o'clock to vote. Are they going to
ask you to talk to this?
Are they going to turn everyone down?
I'm going to ask you to talk to this gentleman because the voting is closed right now.
It's closed.
I just want you to talk to this gentleman.
We have the right to vote until 4:30.
I got you.
Why is it closed?
Let me explain to you.
Please.
Okay. This process is very slow and grueling.
That doesn't matter if we're online.
Very slow and grueling.
Doesn't matter if we're online by 4:30. We have the right to
why
vote.
it had to close was because a high volume of people wanted to do this. Slow and grueling.
Well, then they have to wait till everyone's.
They had to cut the line at 1:45.
They cut the line at 1:45.
1:45.
You hear that, everyone? They cut the line at 1:45. This is voter fraud, by the way. No, it's not. Yes, it is. Oh, voter protection. I heard about that on X. Yeah, there's a lot going on.
Contact
voter protection. Let's see what
Contact the county commissioners to complain.
This is, and so you don't think this is voter fraud? This is voter fraud. See that, everyone? They cut the line.
All right, so these chicks here, these are just paid Democrat Party operatives who are wearing these voter protection badges, and they're presenting themselves as state officials. There's a lot of people who have talked about running into them. They're presenting themselves as state officials, but they're really just paid party operatives who are there to interfere with the goings-on. All right, I'm going to keep jamming on this quickly here because I need to go do my own voting. But here's part of what I've been talking about. This is what's going to happen. I shared the tweet yesterday that said, look what Elon's doing. He's laying all the groundwork to begin spinning all these stories up as they happen. As the thing happens, post it on X, it gets amplified, turns into a national narrative. Getting out ahead of everything, forcing them to have to react, and just shining the broadest possible light on everything they're doing. This is the one way that you could combat this at this point. If you're aware of any election integrity issues, please report them to the X election integrity community. So he's created a community. Oh, did it not share the stop sharing? Stop sharing. So here is the X election integrity community, sponsored by the America PAC. It's got 44,500 members. We've started an X community dedicated to sharing potential instances of voter fraud and irregularities that Americans are experiencing in the 2024 election. Share what you see while voting here. This is, I mean, I don't know what else you could ask for, honestly. This is the best way to organize and combat this. So breaking, Kamala's campaign coordinates social media manipulation to boost support. Kamala's campaign's use of a Discord server to organize volunteers in pushing pro-Harris content across social media, particularly on X. Volunteers are reportedly directed to downvote accurate community notes countering Kamala's posts, artificially boosting her messaging. The campaign also uses the Reach app to distribute memes and videos, encouraging volunteers to amplify posts with unrelated trending hashtags. These coordinated efforts create a false sense of widespread support, often breaching social media platforms' terms. There's a few examples of this here, and you see these people that have the little D image here. Those are paid Democrat staffers who are in this. This isn't just an organic thing. This is a coordinated effort. So there's a tweet here. Trump on Americans who don't support him. We can't play games with these people. These are people that are dangerous people. I've never seen anything like it. And it gets a community note that says misleading. Trump is not referring to Americans who don't support him. He's referring to a leaker in the State Department who gave Israel's war plans to Iran. So they're going and trying to get people to mass downvote them. And then this one here indicates the D indicates a paid Democrat staffer. This links to this community note, and they're trying to get people to vote up on this community note. And it just says, this is speculation. This thing's an honorary title. Trump went on to condemn white supremacists minutes later. So it's a bad community note, but they're trying to game it. They're trying to amplify it. And so Reddit Lies just dropped this shortly before I went live. The Harris Walz volunteer Discord server just banned my account. We expected this, and that's why we quietly archived the server over the past week and are now releasing the files to the broader public. Dead man switch. So some of the beloved nerds in the King Pill Discord downloaded all of this and have been working their magical code magic to parse it all. I don't envy them having to download some of these images onto their computer, because who knows what's going to be in those images. But and he says down here, he's calling all data hoarders, please replicate this data on your machines. And then it might be the ones who mass reported the Trump Rogan podcast. That's a good point. And then he said somewhere down here that he oh yeah, here. They said, why did they ban your account as soon as you entered the server? Did you use an alias, or did they simply not notice you until later? And must be very, very quiet. And he also said that there's something more that's coming tomorrow. They have some other sort of info that they got from it that they're going to be dropping tomorrow. So the autists are on the case. Now let me actually, I don't want to run the risk. Let's just go straight through it. Just unshare and then reshare. Bongino has a message that I think is valuable. Here, talk a little bit about what's coming. Volume's up.
Here's Mike Benz on exactly what I was telling you before. They are planning in this November to January period for street thug type Antifa BLM violence. Folks, I need you to listen to me. I would never steer you wrong. You know, I always tell you, panic kills, don't panic, but you better be prepared. And this is a little message that goes out to our local sheriffs and our constitutional sheriffs. If this is going to happen, I don't want it to happen anywhere. But if it's going to happen in liberal cities and they're going to allow it, there's nothing I can do. But you better be prepared. Shut this shit down. Assembly, legal assembly, constitutionally protected speech, you know the rules. You don't need a lecture from me. But breaking the law and violence, no way. Here's Mike Benz on this topic. Check this out.
Is your sense that on, say, January 20th, if Trump does win clearly in the election, is your sense that on January 20th, Trump will be inaugurated or no?
Well, if he wins on November 5th, it's going to set up this scenario that we're now, talking about with Jamie Raskin. This period between November 5th and January 6th is going to be extremely intense. If Trump wins, you are going to see, my sense is that you will see street paramilitary, left-wing / never Trump, right even potentially. You're going to see this sort of summer of love, summer 2020 style riot force start to break out on the streets. The media is going to portray them as pro-democracy groups who are protesting the illegitimacy of the Trump Electoral College victory. You're going to see that. So that's going to shut down the country. It's going to start terrorizing people. It's going to start preventing people from being able to communicate.
Folks, you got Megan talking about it. You got Ben's talking about it. You got me talking about it. I'm not making this up, man. I'm not trying to throw a monkey wrench into the machinery and gum things up. I'm just telling you, like, if you watch the signs and the signals, there's a way to stop this. And the way to stop it is for our constitutional sheriffs and police chiefs out there. Everyone has a right to speak. We get it. We all have constitutional rights, and everybody knows what to do with that. However, jumping in the street, chaining yourself to stuff, burning down buildings, you got to cut that off. You've got to take the Rudy Giuliani approach to riots in New York when I was a cop. You know what that approach was? First person that throws a rock goes to jail. Second person that throws a bottle goes to jail. You know what happens to the third person? Nothing, because there wasn't a third person. That's how you stop it. You don't just say, let him blow off some steam. You don't do any of that. You shut that shit down right away, period. Get ready for it. It's coming. I hope you're all listening. Spread the word around.
Exceptionally based. Like Straight Buster says here, I just don't buy the violence narrative. Yeah, I don't. Vitlaus says, I don't know, man. They don't seem all fired up. Maybe they'll sacrifice a Floyd to get in the mood. And I don't want to rule out the possibility. I think it's conceivable that it happens. I also think that it's conceivable that it just doesn't really amount to much, because there's, number one, the pro-Trump sympathy among the underclasses that do the dirty work is a legitimate thing. Like, that's a legitimate phenomenon that's developing. And if there's not sympathy, there's just more ambivalence. So I think it's going to be a lot harder to spin up the forces. I don't know that there's going to be the political will for it. But if there is, isn't it great that now you can have the narrative ready-made ahead of time? So when it happens, you could say, we've been calling this, and there's people who are already aligned and looking in that direction and preparing for it to whatever extent they are. There's no more like the regime like creating a black swan event and then like zooming over and gaining a bunch of territory in the confusion. Because every time they create a black swan event, it actually works against them. They actually compromise territory. They decrease people's confidence and trust in them. And they open up opportunities for the whole large cottage industry now of people who are plugged in and anticipating and waiting for it and looking for it and ready to act on it when it happens. Gaming out how to behave when various different things happen. I haven't yet heard a compelling case from someone that shows me that suggests a thing that they could do that would consolidate their power versus accelerate the fragmentation. Every single thing that I hear is all going to accelerate the fragmentation of their power. The starting a war, some EMP attack, some major voter fraud thing, a military coup, all of these things. As I game out every single one of them, I don't see how it doesn't just diminish even further their mandate, their available mandate for retaining any sort of power or using that power effectively in any sort of way. So it won't surprise me if they try. But I don't think they're going to have anywhere near the success that they did before. And it may become clear. It's going to become clearer and clearer that thus lies futility. So there's not even a point in doing it. It's actually better when you start weighing the odds here. It's actually better to just pivot to a new strategy, which is just accepting the election implicitly, but then continuing to war against it. I think that's much more plausible. But obviously, all of this is, we're watching a complex system go nonlinear, so it could go a lot of different directions. But simply appealing to how things have happened in the past, especially like COVID, like, oh, everyone just laid down and took it during COVID. Yeah, but during COVID, there hadn't been a COVID 4 years earlier. Now there was a COVID 4 years ago, and that had a lot of fallout, which is going to inform the way people react to a new thing. You can't just transplant from COVID response, therefore, 2024 thing. Okay. Let me get this Howard Lutnick clip in for you guys, and then I'm going to rock and roll out of here today. Thanks for showing up. We're up to 117 likes. I think we can hit 125. Can we hit 125 for 2 days in a row? We kind of need to raise the floor. Astrolabe is taking off, folks. We got 141 watching and we're at 117. So if I can get 8 more likes through the duration of this video, then it'll make me happy. Lots of leaders on Wall Street privately supporting Trump, transition team co-chair says. Howard Lutnick, the co-chair of the Trump transition team and the CEO of financial services company Cantor Fitzgerald, told Fox News Digital that Wall Street leaders have privately expressed their intent to vote for former President Donald Trump and his pro-growth policies. Lutnick sat for an exclusive interview with Fox News Digital on the sidelines of Trump's historic rally at Madison Square Garden on Sunday. He's running the Trump-Vance transition team alongside his co-chair, former Trump administration Small Business Administrator Linda McMahon. I have the amazing opportunity to talk to everybody about the new government and what we're going to do. So here's what he says.
The weakening of...
Let me make sure the volume's up, and I've got to speed up just a scotch here.
Of the economy. So what do you say to business leaders and to Wall Street and to anybody that would be hesitant for a second Trump term?
So I run Trump-Vance transition. Yes. So I have the amazing opportunity to talk to everybody about the new government and what we're going to do. And you wouldn't be surprised. It is unbelievable the reception we receive because lots of leaders on Wall Street, they don't want to go out there and speak about it because correctly, they have clients on both sides. That makes perfect sense. But privately, they say, we've got to elect Donald Trump president. We've got to put his policies in place. We need pro-growth policies. We don't want to become the regulated Europe. Donald Trump wants to make America great again. Kamala Harris wants to make America Europe. A regulated.
Who's been telling you this? He is saying it. Who else has been telling you this? That what we're dealing with is a European force that is losing its grip on America.
You can't do anything, world. How about this for a statistic? One American company, NVIDIA, is worth more than every single company in Germany or every single company in France. Meaning if you add the whole stock market of Germany together, it's not as valuable as NVIDIA because they hate greatness. And America loves greatness. So when Donald Trump says, let's make America great again, we want to embrace greatness. We want to embrace our great companies. We want to embrace our great technology. We want to embrace our great economy. We want to embrace our great workers and stop sending manufacturing overseas or to Mexico. Let's employ our people here. Let's build great manufacturing here. And let's totally lean on our economy to make America the greatest it can ever be.
What do you say to people that are against the proposed tariffs? Like, I think people must not understand why that is so strong for our economy. So can you break it down why the Trump tariff plan is something that would actually benefit the U.S. economy?
Sure. So what happens with a tariff, right, is this particular product is more expensive. So let's say you put a tariff on a foreign car. There's no tariff on an American car, so maybe the foreign car gets more expensive and you buy the American car. That is not inflation. That's the foreign car costs more money. Inflation only comes in one reason, and that's if you print more money. If the central bank, like it did in 2021 under the Biden-Harris American Rescue Plan, it should have been named the American, you're going to get a heck load of inflation plan of March of 2021, because 15 months later, bang, that's where inflation started. You print too much money, you create inflation. So what happens is these tariffs go back to the turn of the century. The world needs to lean on our economy, and we are letting them have their way with us. We think about this, NAFTA. Remember NAFTA? They took Michigan jobs and moved them to Mexico because there's no cost. You could just drive in over the border with the cars. So we gutted Michigan, Bill Clinton gutted Michigan for the benefit of the Mexican worker. Why? Why? It just doesn't make sense. The idea is, let's take care of American workers first. America first, that's what it means. Put the word worker in there and you'll understand what we're talking about. We should protect our American workers. You're going to see the Teamsters, the famous Democratic Teamsters. They're going to come out and they're going to vote for Donald Trump because they know he's going to protect them.
The final week, we are here. Trump campaign's message is Kamala broke it, Trump will fix it. In terms of the economy, what specifically did Kamala Harris break from the Trump administration when people were thriving, or at least they say they were? What did she break?
I don't know about you guys, but listening to that dude gets me fired up. So I'm going to say one more time, go listen to his conversation with Anthony Pompliano. He talks a lot more about tariffs. He talks about Bitcoin. He talks about the Doge, Department of Government Efficiency. He's the one who told Elon, no, we are calling it the Doge. That's what it's going to be. And he talks about kind of some of their philosophy that they're approaching with it. So if you want to get fired up and just listen to a guy who's super enthusiastic and fun and great to listen to, then go listen to that conversation. Very last thing I'm going to show you guys today. Elon said, try submitting X-ray, PET, MRI, or other medical images to Grok for analysis. This is still early stage, but it's already quite accurate and will become extremely good. Let us know where Grok gets it right or needs work. Now, isn't that a thing? Imagine being able to use just a publicly available service to read medical imaging. The places we may go. Oinks in the chat, everyone. Oinks in the chat. We've hit 124. We need one more like. I appreciate you guys showing up today for the Astrolabe. Go follow me on Twitter @RealKingPilled. Go join the Kingpill Discord, kingpill.com. Become one of the elite, the vanguard of society. I will be back here, I'll not be back here, but I'll be back live in 40 minutes with Jason over on Miranchuk Now, talking with Thomas777 and Charles Haywood on a Trump Vance friend or fed. So make sure you join us for that. And I'll be back tomorrow for another episode of the Astrolabe. And for now, I leave you with Hulk.
They're my hero. And they tried to kill the next president of the United States. Enough was enough. And I said, let Trumpomania run wild, brother. Let Trumpomania rule again. Let Trumpomania